Coming up on First at 4, the coronavirus created an unexpected health issue. Some may be afraid to go to the ER for life-saving care. And we'll have an update on a Pike County store that was closed last night because police say it was not following social distancing guidelines.
Soggy and gloomy weather returns tomorrow and looks to stick around even into your Thursday. First at 4 is next.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, we are starting to see gradual reopenings across the Commonwealth in the medical field. But even before that, some places already open, like emergency rooms, were dealing with a pretty big issue. People waiting or even not coming in at all when they needed life-saving care. WYMT's Connor James was at an ER today and has more. Connor?
Yeah, Steve, well, right off the bat when we showed up at the Hazard ARH ER, we had to put on a mask. And then before we entered, we were asked if we had a fever or a cough. Since we didn't, we went in. They took our temperature anyway, and then we went to the main lobby, which followed social distancing guidelines. Now, since we showed no respiratory symptoms, we were able to use that main lobby. They do have another separate lobby for people who have any sort of COVID-like symptom, just respiratory symptoms. There is constant sanitizing, but many of the people who are in need of ER care aren't showing up. The medical director for the ARH emergency department says even just waiting a few hours after experiencing symptoms for something like chest pain could be a heart attack, and that can result in a massive time difference in the recovery.
If you believe that you need health care, if you need emergency care, you need to come in and seek emergency care. Particularly people with chest pain, kidney problems, diabetes. If you have any condition that warrants emergency care, we're a safe environment.
Now, Steve, for something like high blood pressure, obviously telemedicine's the way to go. But like some of those things he said, especially chest pain, that's when you need to focus on thinking about going to an ER. Steve?
Connor, thank you. The U.S. now has more than 1 million cases of the coronavirus and more than 56,000 Americans have died. At least 21 states have now eased various restrictions, in many cases without meeting federal guidelines on the decline in reported illnesses. In Georgia, many restaurant tables sat empty even though dining areas reopened Monday. In New York, where the coronavirus hit the hardest, the stay-at-home restrictions are set to expire May 15th, but will likely extend in certain areas of that state. One store in Pike County was shut down for a time last night after police say customers were disregarding COVID-19 protective ordinances. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more from Elkhorn City.
Officers with the Elkhorn City Police Department say a failure to comply with social distancing orders caused them to close down Dollar General late last night. Police Chief Bobby Sexton says he noticed a couple disregarding the one-person per cart rule at the store during his nightly check. He approached them and recognized the man from previous warnings. During the conversation with the shoppers, Sexton says an employee of the store became irate and asked him to stop harassing them. That employee and the man both received citations. Sexton says the store has been warned more than 12 times. That conversation turned to a discussion with the store's corporate office before the store closed its doors for the night.
Their district manager was telling them to do something opposite of what we were telling them to do. I think people are confusing this. It's not a political thing we're doing. This is a safety issue that lies on the first responders and the police department to be able to enforce if people do not adhere to it.
As you can see behind me, the store has since reopened, but Police Chief Bobby Sexton says he will not hesitate to intervene if he believes this store or any other store is putting people in danger. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
We will have more from Sexton and a concerned citizen who was at the store last night coming up at 6. With certain restrictions in place, people who lose loved ones are unable to have a traditional funeral. Bluegrass Care Navigators is helping families through their grief by creating compassion bags for families who lose a loved one. The bags have a poem, candle, ribbons, and other items to help remember their loved one. Regional Counseling Supervisor Pam Dixon says that even with the current circumstances, they are still ready to do their jobs.
We want our patients and our families to know that we're there for them in the same way. It may look a little different. We may have to show up at the door looking a little different, but we want them to know that we're still here and we'll continue to be here.
We will have more on how the compassion bags help families through this difficult time later tonight. The U.S. House of Representatives reversed course today and decided not to come back to Washington next week. The decision followed a series of phone calls among House Democrats expressing concern over returning to D.C. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says that the House will come back soon to pass the next round of stimulus funding. Hoyer says attending physicians explained the numbers of COVID-19 infections in D.C. are still going up and that the surrounding area is a hot spot. New Zealand is claiming it eliminated the coronavirus after more than a month in lockdown. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was praised for her handling of the outbreak. She implemented a lockdown with some of the strictest isolation measures in the world. Now, 1 month later, the curve flattened and nearly 75% of businesses are back open, though people are still asked to stay home when possible and continue practicing social distancing while the economy begins to come back to life.
We started out your Tuesday a little bit on that gloomy side and a few scattered rain chances, but that sunshine is out now and it's feeling good out there as well. We'll go ahead and take you up to a few of those cameras. Interstate 75 in London shows those gloomy and a little bit of wet conditions earlier this morning, but that sunshine has returned very nicely, that mixture of sun and clouds as well. As we look on top of Buffalo Mountain, and that sunshine is going to help warm us up already into the lower 70s for a lot of us. Still in the upper 60s in Harlan and Jonesville, a little bit cooler in Wise at 63. But feeling great out there. Get out and enjoy it because soggy weather returns pretty quickly. For tonight, though, we'll be dropping into about those mid-50s. Clouds will increase once again. We could see a few rain chances, but most of those look to arrive as we head into your Wednesday. And that's because with another cold front is going to move in, bringing some soggy weather back into the mountains. By Thursday, we're going to kind of continue to see a few chances. We're going to really cool off after that cold front, but Friday's looking great as sunshine returns along with those warmer temperatures. The rest of that forecast for tomorrow coming up in a little bit.
All right, thank you, Paige. The National Transportation Safety Board announced the findings of its investigation into a fatal duck boat sinking on Table Rock Lake in Branson, Missouri. A crew member and 16 passengers, including 9 members of one family, died when the amphibious vehicle capsized during a storm in July of 2018. You might remember 2 of the victims were Harlan County natives. The NTSB determined Ripley Entertainment and Ride the Ducks Branson caused the sinking because managers did not relay a severe weather forecast to the vessel's captain. The board also faulted the U.S. Coast Guard with failing to set stringent enough safety standards, including allowing this type of boat to have a canopy that trapped passengers inside while it sank. 2 people were shot to death shortly after midnight in Knoxville, Tennessee. Police found a man lying in the street on East 5th Avenue. The second victim, a woman, was found inside a home nearby. Both victims were pronounced dead at the scene. Police say no suspects have been taken into custody. A school in West Virginia was broken into yesterday morning. This is a picture taken by a surveillance camera. You can see the person was dressed in all black. Person broke into the Riverside High School in Kanawha County. We do not know if anything was stolen or if any property was damaged. Schools have been closed there, of course, since March due to the coronavirus pandemic. Straight ahead on First at 4, some families in the U.S. are losing multiple members due to COVID-19. We'll talk to some of the surviving members about their loss.
Soggy weather returns tomorrow. We'll talk about the timing and how much rain to expect coming up.